Okay, so welcome to today's session. Today we're going to cover synchronization technique in Selenium. First, we'll understand why we need synchronization, right? And then we'll go through the different type of synchronization methodology we can use for Selenium and for any automation tool as a as a generic way. So first, why we need synchronization. So let's try to understand that. A very simple example of you are driving along with your friend. Let's say two cars are driving on a road, right? And if you both manage the same speed, you are synchronized, right? You will able to talk to probably the driver, he will not talk, but the others can talk through the windows with the person next to him, right? In another car, if you are synchronized and driving on a same road next to each other in a two different lane, correct?
Right.
But if the speeds are different, right, probably someone will be ahead of you, you will not able to talk to each other through windows. You're trying to understand. You will not be in sync. Same thing we need to understand in automation tool and browser. So in automation, what we generally do, we send an instruction to a browser, and then browser is trying to perform that activity for you, correct? And then the automation tool is waiting for the response. Like for example, driver dot find element. The moment we do find element, it is trying to find that particular element on the DOM, right? On an HTML.
Right.
If it finds, it will say, okay, I found it, and it will return you the value. Either it will return true or whatever it want to return. But if this communication, if the speed of tool is greater than the way browser is responding, for example, if the tool is saying, okay, I will do driver dot find element, and then I'll quickly try to perform a click. Before it tries to perform a click, if the element is not even available, it will throw an exception, right? It will say, hey, I am not able to find an element. So what overall we need to understand is synchronization is needed between two parties to manage the speed of execution, right? The way the tool is passing an instruction, or the way the tool is receiving an instruction or a response from a browser, that they both may not be in the same speed, and that's the reason we need some kind of mechanism with which we'll able to control both of them. Coming back to our example of car, what mechanism we'll use there? Of course, an accelerator and the speedometer, right?
Yeah.
With the help of these two things, we'll able to keep both of them in sync. If you say if you ask your friend to drive it exactly at, let's say, 80 miles per hour, or let's say 55 miles per hour, so if he manages that speed and if you manages the same speed, you both will drive in a sync, correct?
Yeah.
So there has to be some mechanism which we will use, which will make sure the tool and a browser are in sync, and whatever the request response is happening between both of them is in sync. Okay. So that is the reason why we need a synchronization. Now there are multiple ways with which we can achieve this. Okay. So let's try to understand. This is the broad list of synchronization which we're gonna cover. Okay. The on a high level, there are two things. One is conditional and unconditional. Okay. The unconditional one is not given by Selenium to you. It is basically a thread.slip. It is a Java concept. It is coming from a Java and not from a Selenium. Okay. So we will cover the thread.slip later on. Let's focus on the conditional one. Now in conditional, because it says conditional, definitely there has to be some condition, right? And of course, there will be a timeout associated with it. So there are two things. One is, okay, which condition, and then next is how much time, correct? Now there is an implicit wait, there is an explicit wait, there is a fluent wait, and the page load timeout. The first two are very important, and most of the time you will use only those first two. Okay.
I see. Okay.
Fluent wait, yes, in some condition, in certain special applications, you will also use fluent wait. And I'm not saying that only use explicit wait or only use implicit wait or only use fluent wait. I'll tell you the differences, and you automatically will understand that you have to smartly use the combination of all these weights in your script, and not just one strategy. Okay. You will find a lot of blogs, and you will find people posting on YouTube that they'll say, no, always use implicit wait. They'll say, no, always use explicit wait. But I will say, no, it doesn't work like that. When you actually work in in a much complex enterprise applications where there is
Right.
a variety of elements and the responses are different Ajax calls, and there is so many framework stack components are involved. You can't just rely on one synchronization technique. Okay, you have
Mm-hmm.
to use the combination of multiple techniques, which will include implicit wait, which will include explicit wait, and yes, it may also include the fluent wait. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so let's try to understand them first in the concept, and then we'll go to the code.
Okay.
Fine. Okay, so let's talk about what is implicit wait. So as from the name itself, implicit wait is basically the first thing is it is throughout the driver session. Okay, so what I meant is throughout the driver session, whenever you create a driver object, right? Web driver
Yeah.
equal to Firefox driver or Chrome driver.
Mm-hmm.
So till that driver object is alive throughout your script execution, right? That implicit
Yeah.
wait will be applicable throughout your driver session. That first thing you
I
need to
see.
understand. Now let's try to
Okay.
understand what exactly this wait does. An implicit wait is basically telling a web driver to continuously poll or to continuously look for the DOM, document object model, basically your HTML, right, which is given by a
Yeah.
browser, for a certain amount of time to keep trying the find element or find elements if they are not immediately available. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so what basically I'm telling the browser is, hey, if I'm trying to do driver.find element, and if you are not able to find element at the first attempt, right, don't just
Mm-hmm.
throw me the no element found exception. That's how it happens if you don't use any of the synchronization technique now, right?
Yeah.
If you're trying to do driver.find element, and whatever technique, locator technique you are using, by.id, by.xpath or css, if he's not able to find the specified element using with the first attempt, then it will throw immediately, you will get an exception, no such element found exception, right?
Yeah. Yes.
but
Seen that.
if but if you use the implicit wait technique, what you are trying to tell the driver instance is, hey, don't just throw me an exception if you are not able to find it on the first attempt. Can you please
Mm.
continuously poll the DOM, which means continuously keep on reading the entire page for a certain amount of time, and
Mm.
even if you are not able to find after that time, then I'm okay to receive whatever you say, like an exception. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
that is implicit wait.
Yeah.
So why we use implicit wait? Again, the reason is very simple. There may be some element which is taking a more time on the page to appear, right?
Mm-mm.
If you do not use a synchronization technique, what happens? The
Just
driver dot
skip.
find
Yeah.
element, it doesn't have any intelligence on its own. It will say, hey, okay, the page is loaded, the page load event is done, and then I'm just trying to find out here element. If it is there, I will proceed with the click operation or a send keys operation, whatever you want me to do, right?
Right.
And
It
if it
might even come before it finished loading the page. Right.
exactly, and if it
Yeah.
is not available, then what it will do, it will throw you an exception, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So but if you don't want that, of course we don't want that, we need some intelligence in our script.
Yes.
So what we do is we use implicit wait, and again the default value is 0. What does it mean? Like if you don't mention it, right, which means it is not gonna wait even for 0 second. You'll get an
Oh.
error. So
Oh.
that's
Yeah.
why we have to explicitly, sorry, we have to, when we define implicit wait, we have to tell what is the threshold value, you
Oh,
know
okay.
till when I want you to continuously poll the DOM. Okay,
I see.
life is throughout the life of WebDriver instance. What I mean to say, once you define the implicit wait, you no need to continuously do that throughout your script.
Yeah.
You just do it once. For example, when you create a driver object, driver equal to Firefox driver, you don't continuously keep on the driver object, right? you
Yeah.
just you use the same object throughout your script.
Yeah.
Similarly, when you define or when you declare the implicit wait, then it's gonna applicable, it will be applicable throughout the execution of that script, throughout the
I see.
execution of that driver object. Okay,
Yeah. So this would be a good one to mention in your config, like environment file or property file, right?
exactly. Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So
Okay.
that's a very good example. Yesterday we were understanding how do we read it data from your config files, right?
Yeah.
The dot properties file. So you can define this timeout unit there, And based on the different environments, you know, the dev environment is very slow, the production is fast, you can change that, right?
Yeah.
You can parameterize this. So this is the syntax. The driver dot, now what is this driver? This is the driver object which you have created, right? Which means if you are creating multiple driver objects, you can have multiple timeouts for them, right? Generally we don't do that, but yes, I'm just telling you that it is applicable on that driver object. Dot manage dot timeout implicitly wait, and this is the time, which is, you can say, the threshold, right?
Yes.
Where you are saying, okay, can you please wait till 6 seconds. If you say timeout dot minute, then it will wait for that much minute, right?
I see. Yeah.
If you go back and refresh our open script, we did have this kind of dot exist method there, right? Which is kind of similar to implicit wait, where we used to give some method, right? Some numbers and then dot again the timeout dot seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is implicit wait. Now where we can use this, of course, because it works only on find element and find elements, fine. So this is an implicit wait. We'll see a practical example of it. Now let's discuss about explicit wait. So just to remember, explicit wait is for exceptional conditions. Okay. Not necessary, but just I give you that trick of, how do we remember? So E is same, right? So just remember that explicit wait is for exceptional conditions. Now what is exceptional condition? So let's assume that you have defined an implicit wait for your script, which is, let's say, 30 seconds threshold, right? So you are saying, for my entire script execution, can you please wait maximum 30 seconds if you don't find any element, right? He'll say, okay, fine, I'll wait maximum 30 seconds. It will keep on going on element by element through in your script. Let's assume that there is a drop down where it says, select a country, or let's say there is a drop down where it says select the state value, right? And that only one drop down is taking more than 30 seconds to load, or it is behaving weird, it is taking more time. Okay, so what you will do, let's assume that you only want to control your script using implicit wait. So you will say, oh, I think the script is always failing in that drop down, I need to increase my wait time, right? You will increase it by 30 seconds to 50 seconds. And now you will see, oh yeah, the script is working fine when I increase it from 30 second to 50 second. But you need to understand this. When you increase that from 30 second to 50 second, you are basically allowing all other elements also to behave slowly. Because that 50 second will be applicable for your entire script.
Everything. Yeah.
Which means you will not able to capture a slow execution of your other elements. You will not able to get that issues in your automation. You're getting my point?
Yeah.
You're trying to fix a problem, which is good, but in that, by fixing that one problem, you are increasing your implicit wait from 30 second to, let's say, 50 second. But now if there are other elements which initially was taking 10 seconds, but now they are taking 30 seconds, you will not able to catch them, because you have increased your implicit wait, the script execution is taking more time, but you will not able to catch those issues of slow execution or the degrade in the performance or whatever it is. You're getting my point?
Yeah.
So that is the disadvantage of using implicit wait, because the implicit wait will be applicable throughout your execution on all the elements you use, right? Now how do we control this? So there is an explicit wait. In such cases, you don't want to increase your implicit wait time. Let it be 30 seconds. Just for that one drop down, just for that one element, I will write an explicit wait, or I will handle that using explicit wait. Okay. So what explicit wait means, again, just to keep in mind or remember, for exceptional elements, for some element it may take more time to load than other element on a page. We don't want to control synchronization of this element, this exceptional element, using a huge implicit wait, as it will need more threshold, and ultimately that will also be applicable to other elements as well, right?
Right.
To avoid above, we use explicit wait, which is only for that specific element. Did you get this?
Yeah.
So that now we are saying, and you can use both of them in a same script. So if you are creating a wait object like this, which comes from this particular I think it's an interface, so WebDriver wait, and then you wait dot until then expected condition, dot the visibility of that particular whatever, we will see that. And then
Mm.
by dot whatever, basically here I'm saying, okay, can you please wait till 30 seconds only for this particular element.
I
So
see. Okay.
so that explicit wait will be applicable only for that element and not for
Okay.
the rest of them.
Okay. Got it.
For the rest of the element, we are still handling them using implicit wait.
Implicit wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see the difference. What is the difference between implicit wait and explicit wait? So implicit wait, it is applicable to all the elements in the test script, right?
Yeah.
Explicit wait, it is applicable only the specific element as intended by the user, because that's what we say explicitly for these elements, right?
Right. Right.
No need to specify expected condition on the elements to be located, because it is applicable on all the elements. So basically it will say, okay, if I'm not able to find with first attempt, I will keep on checking the entire DOM till maximum threshold, like 30 seconds, whatever you give the maximum condition, right? So I'll keep on checking it. Then the explicit ways, you have to give some condition. So where it says, okay, if the condition is met, then I'll able to go ahead with it. Most effective when used in a test case in which the elements are located with elements are located with a time frame specified in an implicit way. So like I said, if your application is pretty straightforward and no other different technology stacks are involved and pretty much all the element behaves in a similar fashion,
Yeah.
then you are fine with just using an implicit way throughout your script. You may not need to have a mix and match of explicit weight. But yeah, if that's not the case, then yes, you'll have to use an explicit weight to make your script more smart and also able to catch the any degradation of a performance in the future for other elements, right?
Yeah.
So there you will use the explicit weight. You will say, okay, let me handle some explicit special elements using explicit weight. So here there is a most effective when used for elements that is taking a long time to load. Also useful for verifying a property of such element, like yes, of course, because we write a condition there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is also useful to check a specific property of that element. Now let's go back and see the example. Okay, let me share my next screen. Okay, so yesterday we covered a session, so I'm gonna create a new class. Right click, new class, and I'll say synchronization.
Yeah.
Then I'll public static void main finish. Probably I'll copy the code for driver.get all these things, right? Okay. Fine. Now, like I said, the moment you create a driver object, ideally this is where you can, define your implicit weight.
Oh, okay.
The good practice is at the beginning itself, because once you define it here and the underlying all the commands, whatever you write,
Everything. Okay.
driver.find, everything, it will be applicable, correct?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And what is the syntax for for the implicit weight? Oh, I think you can't see the screen.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, hold on, I'll have to share. Okay. Can you see now?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the syntax, right? Driver.manage.timeout. So here you already created it, right? The driver
Yeah.
object. So here you will get driver dot
Manage
dot
that
just
timeout.
yeah, timeout dot, then you should just type I. So it's say implicit, right? And just hover your mouse. I think documentation should appear. No. Okay. Anyway, now it takes two argument. One is the second, right? So let's say I'm giving 30, and then next is time unit, right?
Yeah.
So time unit dot whatever second, microsecond, millisecond, nanosecond, whatever you want to use. That's it. So this particular syntax which says, say this 30, no need to even write hard code it. You can say int implicit timeout imp underscore timeout equal to, again you can read it from you your config files, right?
Yeah, this can go.
And then you can give it like this also.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this value no need to hard code. You can again, like the way we did it in assertion, not assertion, sorry, the way we did it in
property config.
data parameterization, right?
Yes.
Using an input file, you can define that value in your input file and read it from there. Once you read it from there, of course you will be reading it in a string, so you will have to use the casting to convert it into int, because this takes int, right?
Yeah.
And then you will convert it into int and then pass it here and so on. So once you define it, once you say, okay, this is my implicit weight, what's going to happen is for all the underlying driver elements or whatever the underlying operation, that the implicit will be automatically applicable. Okay, so let's take an example. I'll give you an example, like find element by. So once it launches a google.com, I want to do something. What do you say? So let's say by dot
Expect
id. I just want to fail it anyway.
Oh,
so,
I see. Okay.
So test user, and then say, okay, can you please go ahead and click on it? Of course, it's not gonna find, so it's gonna. So here, what I'm doing is we'll print the time. Okay. So so let me say printing current time. How do we do current time? I think get there is a time specific way you can do it. Okay, let's run this. Let's see, because now what will happen is when it comes to line number 18, it's not gonna straight away fail. It will wait till 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That's what we are trying to understand. Okay, so let me comment this first, because now when I comment, I'm saying I'm not using the implicit weight, right? I'm not using an implicit weight. And now let's run this. So yeah, it launched the Firefox. Okay, so it is basically, see this, immediately it gave me the error, right? Okay, printing current time. I think 7:42:16 it started, and then 7:42, where is the exception?
Yes, it's unable to locate element test underscore user.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the time.
No, it's not it.
Current time. There is a way to print a current time. Just give me a moment. Let me find out. Okay, so in a Java, if you want to get a current time, this is how you get it. You just need to import this from the time java.time.format package, and then import it again from the time. Okay, so now if you see, using I have a specific date format. Okay, now using this, I can print the current time. So here what I'll do is I'm printing the current time before, and then I'm printing it one more time. It's not gonna come here, but still. Now let's run this. Okay, so now you see immediately it failed. It didn't even wait for any time, right?
Yeah.
The moment 19:44:57, and then immediately, without waiting even a second, it quickly failed it.
Yeah.
Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna enable our implicit wait, which is says wait for 30 seconds. So let's say where is it? Yeah, here. And then now I'm gonna run it again. So what we'll do is, the moment it launches, now just look at the console. I'm just expanding console for you. The moment it launches the Firefox, now it's printed the time, Now it is waiting.
Yeah.
It is waiting for some time, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the implicit wait is in progress now. It
Good.
says, okay, I can't straight away fail in first attempt. Let me keep on polling. So this particular browser, even if it's not able to find that ID, it is keep on polling. And now after 30 seconds, hopefully it will fail. And now you see it is still running, right? Okay, now it failed, right?
Yep.
Now it failed. So yeah, this is what I wanted to show you. And then, so basically that is the implicit wait. And again, you no need to define it at every stage. That's, you just need to define it once, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is the simple implicit wait. Now coming back to an explicit wait, let's assume that I am doing something on the browser. So let's say once I come on gmail.com, I just want to click here. So I'll go to inspect path, and let's see how can we identify that. This let's expand. Is there anything I can use here?
What did you want to use?
Class doesn't excite me. Title, yeah, let's see, right? We can use title, create an account.
Yeah.
Okay, so create an account. So how are we gonna do here now?
Oh, by the way, when you were looking at that, I could only see the Java console. I mean the Eclipse. I couldn't see
Oh, okay,
what was just to let you know. So
okay, yeah, maybe because I only shared the one application. Now you're not
yeah,
able to see anything, right?
I can see the Java
Or you can still see the Java.
Eclipse. Yeah, I can see Eclipse, the code you're putting together.
Okay, cool, fine. The browser you're not able to see, right?
Yeah, the
Right.
browser is that showing. Yeah.
I think now you're able to see. Now can you see?
Yeah, now I can see.
Okay,
Maybe
cool.
it was right behind it or something.
Maybe, yeah. So I'm saying we just want to click on this button. So we are trying to identify using title, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and the A is the so what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to identify using. Can you suggest me what I should do? By dot?
You want to use type? Is that was it type?
No, we can use
Tag
XPath,
or
right?
text? Oh yeah,
You
sure.
can say XPath, and then what is the A tag name?
A tag
Then in
name
the
and
bracket at the rate, set
then
title attribute equal to in single quotes to
value.
value, right?
The value. Yep.
Okay. So this is what we are trying to do. Now, if let's say after clicking on it, let's see what happens after clicking on it. Of course, it opens. Yeah, this is a good example when I'm gonna teach you about have window handle. Okay, so probably I don't want you to look for this right now. Okay, these are all changing the tabs. I don't want to change the tab, at least for this session. Let me go to google.com, or let's say salesforce.com. It's my favorite company. Okay, and then let's go to contact us page. I think this is a good page. Okay, so just copy, change it here, Salesforce, and then we're gonna identify this, find, let's say type equal to text, name equal to username. Yeah, I think you can use by name, right? So by dot name, just use a name.
Value.
Okay. So once I use a by dot name, now what we're gonna do is let's say directly jump on the drop down. You remember when we did a drop down, select and all those things, right?
Yeah.
So so let's take a simple example. Before I even type on the job title, actually this is not a good example to show you the explicit wait. But what I'm trying to tell you here is whenever you perform a next operation, right? So let's assume you are doing an operation on the drop down. So in this case, the moment you click on a drop down, you have all your values, because this is select and then option tag, basically a static drop down, right?
Yeah.
But if there is a dynamic drop down, which is basically once you click on that, it fetches the value, right?
Mm-hmm,
And the more you scroll down, it more it fetches the results, correct?
yeah. Or
So
sometimes it might populate other fields based on what you selected, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So if in that case, we may use explicit wait, right? So
Okay.
again, what is the syntax? First, you have to create an explicit wait object. Okay, so wait object basically, which is
Oh,
under
okay.
WebDriver wait, and then you have to
Okay.
pass that driver on which this explicit wait needs to be applicable. So let's say,
Okay.
so you remember this WebDriver syntax, right?
Yeah.
WebDriver, just add a wait in front of it. That's it.
I, yeah.
Nothing different. So if I just copy this, right,
Mhm.
WebDriver, and then say
Driver
wait,
waits.
oops, and then say wait
Wait equals.
equal to, oops, equal to, how create object new, again the same value, right?
Yep.
And then here you're gonna pass your driver. This is the driver, right? So
Okay.
you're gonna pass your driver, comma, and you're gonna give value. So let's say I'm giving 30 60 seconds. This is the explicit wait. Okay, now hover your mouse and just import that. That's it. So now you created a wait object. Okay,
Okay.
let me show you. So now you just created a wait object. Now using this wait object, you see is using this wait object, you can explicitly define a condition.
Mm.
Okay, you can explicitly define a condition. So for example, now I'll say wait dot. The moment you give dot, just type u until. Now you see, I don't know why the documentation is not coming, but generally you get the documentation. Now here, if you see, the moment you use until, it says, give me some argument. For example, what do you want to do? So let's if I don't know how to do it, for example, what I'm gonna do is I'm simply gonna copy paste this. Let's see how it does it work or doesn't work, whatever it is. Okay, now
Okay.
if you hover your mouse, what it's gonna do, the method until function super web driver comma v, is a type of a fluent wait, is not applicable for argument. Basically, whatever you're trying to do is not correct. It accepts two
I see.
arguments, let's say. So if I give
Okay.
now comma, okay,
Okay.
and now here I need to give something. What I need to give, the basically an expected condition. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so what is the expected condition? So let's take, I'm just taking this, just to give an example, just copy the expected conditions. So the first parameter I'm saying, okay,
Expected conditions.
dot. The moment I do dot, so let's say, just type visibility of a web element. I'm just checking the visibility of it, whether
Okay.
it is available or not. Again, here you will see a lot of method overriding options, elements, and then a list of elements and all. So right now I'm just explaining you the one simple example. So I'm saying, okay, can you please check the visibility of this element? Which element? Again, this is the driver dot whatever I'm passing, correct?
Yeah.
So I'm saying, okay, can you please check? Okay, let's go.
So do you use the element located or do you use the visibility of element?
No, visibility of element. If you're trying to find out only one element,
I see. Okay.
if you're interested in it also depends on which function are you using. If you are using elements here, correct, now it will throw an error because the driver dot find elements is gonna return you list object.
Yeah.
It's gonna return you multiple. So here visibility of this function will not work for you.
Okay.
Here you will have to use visibility of all element. Now if I see,
Okay.
if I use visibility of all element, which means, you're getting my point,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because we are using the find dot elements,
Find elements.
and
Yeah.
elements returns the list, correct, all the
Yeah.
elements which matches that condition. But here if you are using element, then again this will not work. This will throw you, oh, I think this will work because it also, but I generally I would say just use the first option. Okay, yeah, this one. Now let's run this code. Now if you see here, we are using the explicit wait and implicit wait, right? We are using both of them. I know this is gonna work fast for you right now. The reason because both the elements are available right away on the page. But if you get, I think I'll try to find an example for you where the explicit wait is required. Okay. So here the first element, this driver dot find element. This we are controlling using what? Implicit wait, right?
Yeah.
And then the next one, this one, we are waiting explicitly till 60 seconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now what I'm going to do for you here is, let me, because I want to fail this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just I'm just gonna print the time for you just before we wait here. Okay, I'm gonna just print a time here, and then instead of dot click, we're gonna do just some send elements. I'll say send keys, I'll say learning Selenium synchro. That's it. So the moment it type, it's gonna come, and then for this, this is anyway gonna fail, but we're gonna see whether it fails for 60 or whether it fails with 30. You know, that's what
Mm-hmm.
we wanted to understand. So
Yeah.
right click, run as, run Java application. This is a very important interview question also. People will try to confuse you about implicit wait and explicit wait in an interview, and they'll say, okay, which one is the best?
Yeah.
What do you prefer? How I can make my
Yeah.
script more efficient? How I can make
Yeah.
my script more, and all this. You know,
Fluent.
I'll tell you how to answer that. So it is
Okay.
typing at 56:49. Okay, just look
49.
at this one. Okay,
Yeah.
so the moment it reaches 47:59, it should fail if it is using explicit wait. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right now we just want to understand whether it is waiting using explicit threshold or it is waiting till. Okay, now it
Okay.
failed. Now I think it is already 56:49 it started, and then I hope for 57:49 it would have failed. Okay,
Yeah.
unfortunately I don't have timestamp on this, but I hope that's where it waited and it failed. Okay, so yeah, this is
Okay.
the one difference between explicit and implicit.
Okay.
I want you to do a lot of practice and
Okay.
then there are some more things, probably I'll cover that in tomorrow's session, because they are not that important. What is important is this too,
Okay.
and how do we control your entire script execution using implicit and explicit and combination of both of them. Okay.
Okay. Are the other ones mostly like are they specific to some type of web application you deal with, or
You want to say uh, the
the
fluent
other
weight?
weights? Yeah, the Fluent and
They are used. I'll tell you in which case we use it.
okay.
They are also, it's in some cases we also need them. It's not like we're always going to use implicit and explicit, but most of the time you will able to handle it using this too.
These two, okay.
In
And the
in more,
page load timeout also
yeah, that
not
that is
happening.
that is also at a page level,
I see.
at
Okay.
at a page level, but at a element level, these two weight
Okay.
you need to use, right?
Okay.
At
Okay.
action level, specifically when you are dealing with Ajax calls and all, where
Okay.
you in Ajax call, basically it works a little different. So in
Mm,
that case, you will use the implicit and explicit combination in your scripts.
okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
if you're
Very
good with this
interesting. Yeah.
too, if
Yeah.
you're good with this too, you will able to make your script more smart,
Okay. Okay.
and now you'll
Makes sense.
also able to catch the problem with slow performing elements. The reason, because
Okay.
we don't want to design a script which always works, because the intention of automation is to find bugs.
Yeah.
The intention of automation is not to always run smoothly, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it is very important, how do you balance implicit weight and explicit weight, right, in a right way in your scripts. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so you can use the explicit weight in a multiple ways, because the expected condition you can use, like we use only visibility of, I think we just use one, right?
Yeah.
So
Visibility
like
off.
you can use any of these methods, right? For example, if you are checking for alert, then you can use the alert present. If you are checking for anything, element selection state, then you can use that. Then you can say clickable or not, because certain elements will take time to
Yeah.
activate, if they are readable.
Okay.
It will take time to make them enabled, because they'll be set. Sometimes what happens on your previous selection, the next element will become either readable or writable, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So that's where you'll have to use explicit wait, and in that you will use a function called as element to be clickable. You will check till certain amount of time, and then once it is clickable, then you will go and perform the click operation using driver dot find element, and then whatever you want to do, right?
Okay. Okay.
And then element to be selected. There are multiple options, multiple conditions you can use. Okay.
Okay.
So you'll have to give a try, do a practice,
Okay.
and then you will understand. But yeah, remember the syntax. Syntax is the key. If you forget the
Yes.
syntax, then probably you'll not able to relate with it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you should
It
know
will
the
slow you
syntax.
down. Yeah.
Yeah. Write it down on a piece of paper or your automation book, which I generally
Okay.
recommend, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then once you do practice, the syntax doesn't scare you
Yeah.
if you
And
do
you
more
can.
practice.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what will happen, even if you forget this, you will not able to understand what it is. you know it will keep on it will keep on
There's a
taking
lot of stuff.
time.
You
Yeah,
will
you can
keep
you
piling and piling and piling, and then
correct. See,
yeah.
now if you see 60
Yeah.
comma 70, this
Yeah.
is also, it is accepting. But why it is accepting, that I want you to find out, right?
Oh.
Because there are
Okay.
different arguments we can give.
Okay.
How you learn is, initially, that's what I so if you remember this expected condition, why I didn't give any argument before, that's how you should learn. First,
Mm.
just write the object, and you say don't give anything, just hover your mouse, and now you see
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
three different ways with which you can pass the argument, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
first is driver object. First parameter is driver object, which we understood. The next is, okay, here it says clock dot
Mm.
sleeper dot long,
Ah.
which
Oh.
means 1 2 3 4
Three,
5
4.
parameters, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do I use it? When do I use it? Try to find out. Now next is
Okay. Okay.
WebDriver comma long, which we
Mm.
which we saw. The 60 was kind of a that example,
That
right?
for that example, yes.
Now another two things. So that's what. See, these all things like minimum, maximum. There are a lot of combinations will be there. So once you do a
Yeah.
practice, this is how you will learn.
Okay.
Okay, I may
Will
stop.
do.